Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today we have Nick.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're here to talk about games and things.
Games and things.
Yes, that's what we're going to be doing. I don't know. Nothing new came out this week, right? Like, we're not talking about new things. It's new old things, old new things.
Yeah, just old new things. I mean...
there a few games came out this week, but I don't think any of us played them.
Like what?
Was it the new Tom Clancy?
Oh, I played that.
Extraction?
It ain't even worth talking about.
Right. That, and then I think there were some like other things that came out like day and date to Game Pass.
Actually, I think I do need to give my thoughts on that one a little bit.
That's like the biggest thing that came out this week.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. So, you know, remember how I said, like, not Rainbow Six, but Far Cry 6 had, like, no soul?
Yeah.
This was just, like, this was them continuing that trend. There's really not that much to it. Every character plays almost exactly the same as they did in Siege.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're now in a game where it doesn't want them to use those skills.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of clashes with the gameplay that is there in question. If you play it solo, it sucks. It's just, if you wanted to play this by yourself, it's definitely not worth even downloading on Game Pass. But if you wanted to like play it with some friends, you could probably have some fun with this. But like, you would definitely need a full team. The maps just feel nothing. Plus, like, a lot of the maps is just obscured by this, like, sprawl that it has, which is this, like, black gunk that comes off of all the, like, alien, like, eggs, like, harvesting areas and that sort of thing. And you have to, like, shoot it to, like, clear it off. There's one really good idea in this game, and it would have been better if it was in a different game. And the one really good idea is, like, it tries to force you to play as different characters, not just get stuck in one. Because if your character goes down in the game, like in a round when you're playing with people and whatnot, or by yourself or whatever, that character gets encased in this like goop that is essentially like a cryopod for them, where they're hiding from like the aliens and everything because they're damaged too heavily, and you have to. Then, in like one of your later games, you'll have to take in another agent that you have unlocked and rescue them. So they'll be like captured in a cocoon by the aliens and everything, and you'll have to like break into the area where that character that you lost earlier is now being held like captive by the aliens, and you have to like take out all the little like lock things that are on the walls in order to release your character and grab them. And then once you grab them, it becomes like a game where you can only use your pistol because you're using your other arm to like hold the character on your back, and you're like kind of hunched over and you're walking slower. But it like actually becomes a rescue mission, which seems like something that would actually happen in a Tom Clancy game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also hinders you from using like your normal weapons, and you just have to use like pistols and that sort of thing to fight your way out. So the person that's going in and rescuing the person that they lost earlier, they're at a distinct disadvantage, but it's like kind of a punishment for fucking up, and it actually works pretty well. But the game just in general is very, very boring. It's not really terrible, so you can't really make fun of it, and it's not really good, so you can't have a lot of fun with it. So it's just somewhere in the middle where it's like, it's a game that exists and it feels like there's nothing to it. And that really is all there is to it. It's kind of trash, but not trash where I could sit here and make fun of it trash. It's just like, yeah, it exists and there's no reason for you to play it. And that's about as much as you need to know about the game.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to kick down that door and
that's
talk
fine.
about that trash real quick. But you guys, you can continue with what you were going into. Nick, I'm so sorry I interrupted you, but I just need to get that out there.
I was just answering the question.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mike, back to you then.
Thank you, host. Brandon.
Back to Mike with the weather.
Well, you know, I'm fine. I'll talk about what I've been playing. It's not very exciting anyways. I just been So with Pokemon Arceus coming out, I've just been kind of like, I didn't want to get into anything like too deep, like too time sucking. So I've just been kind of like lollygagging around on like games. So I went through and finished up Ocarina of Time on NSO. It was pretty good. I mean, like they did do a patch this last week, I believe. It wasn't anything like noticeable to me. So apparently they cleaned up the graphics a bit more, and they fixed up some of like the controller lag. So I don't know. I didn't notice the controller lag before, and I mean the game still seems to run fine for me. So I don't really have anything different to say. It looks nice, I'll say. I mean, like I said, everything's up res. It's not like they changed any like the graphics or anything otherwise. But I mean, it's good. I guess for what it is, it actually plays, and it doesn't have a game-breaking bug like Mario or Paper Mario does. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Paper Mario's got a really fucked up bug. Way. I don't know. Did you guys hear about this?
I didn't play it, so no.
I didn't play it on NSO either, but apparently this is new to the NSO version.
Okay.
They built this into the North American release. It's not in the Japanese one. Apparently, if you're playing as a certain partner, it's Wyatt, I guess I should say, just in case anyone's like interested in playing the game. If you die with Wyatt as your partner, then the game will go into game over and it will crash. And the problem with NSO, because it's an issue with every game, but it's most noticeable in a game that has a game-breaking bug, such as this, where so if it crashes, it will revert like it does. How do I put this? The save data that you make on the system, it doesn't back it up until the app is closed. So if you close the app, then it's like, okay, we'll put your save data, we'll tuck it away to where it should be for an N64 game. So if the game crashes, it doesn't do that. It just goes back to whatever was left on the system beforehand. So if you had, say, a marathon session of Paper Mario, even if you're saving every 15 minutes, if you've been playing for 6 hours without shutting down the app, you will lose 6 hours of progress if your game crashes.
That's trash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are workarounds. So, like, you could say if you use the save states, those are fine. Those will be okay. Those aren't affected by it. It's just if you use the in-game save, the save blocks. The other option is, which is, I guess, smart, because it takes, like, it's not like it's, if you die, you have at least a good 30 seconds to a minute to get the fuck out of that game by pressing the home button. And if you do that and exit out before the game crashes, you're fine. The issue is if you let it crash. That's fucked up. Like, I was playing Ocarina of Time the other day, like I said, and I was just, I was like, what if I had a game-breaking bug right now? I've been playing this for like 3 hours. I'm like, I'd fucking destroy this thing. I'd be so pissed. So, yeah, that's a bug. That needs to be fixed for all of NSO. Those things need to be backed up more readily. There's got to be a better way to do it. So, yeah, but otherwise it looks good. I mean, I didn't play Banjo-Kazooie because that's out now. I just looked at the gameplay comparison videos. Honestly, it looks very on par with the Xbox version, which surprised me. So I guess I thought they'd done more work to it to clean it up, but yeah, it's just up-res. It looks nice. So yeah, and the N64 controller, still great. Love it. The other thing I went back into, which is kind of like a surprising one, so Nintendo did I don't know, like a New Year's sale, and they put some things on sale of their games. So I picked up
did
the
they
DLC.
put on sale? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say I picked up the DLC for Captain Toad, so I ended up playing through that. Yeah, I don't know. It's not like it was super expensive to begin with. It was like $5 normally, and I think with the discount it was down to like 2 or 3. So I was like, well, I don't really have an excuse now. Sound like I might as well. And it's fun. I like it. Captain Toad's great. Like I hope it's a game that they do another version of at some point. I'm actually kind of surprised they have not. But yeah, I mean, the new levels were a good time. They added some interesting things there, and yeah, it was a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I've been playing. I don't have anything else. I've just been watching TV shows, boring TV shows.
Well, I was gonna say, what are you watching?
TV show.
Nothing exciting. It's been. I've also been cleaning up my backlog of TV shows, so it's just like, I mean, they weren't bad. What did I watch? I watched Succession, which I'd never watched before. I basically just like binged through that for some reason. I don't even know. It's like Rich People Shameless. If I was gonna describe it somewhere. Yeah, I
I
don't know.
like Shameless. It's a good show.
Yeah, it's like these rich people. They own like this big old. They basically it's like if they own Fox News basically.
Okay.
So this company owns this big like multimedia like right wing company, and
Okay.
it's just kind of about like their aunt. Like the dad is like I don't know 70 years old. So obviously they're like, hey, you're gonna die or need to retire soon. So maybe you should do that. And the kids all want to be the next CEO, but I don't know. He basically hates all his kids and pits them against each other.
Mm.
So it's interesting. And also, it's Macaulay Culkin's brother is
Oh,
one of the
okay.
stars on it, which I guess I really didn't think about the fact that he had a brother before, but it looks just like him. So it's like there's no guessing. So I mean, it was pretty good. It was not as I don't know how to put it. It's like it's a weird show. Like it's like engaging enough that I felt like watching the whole thing, but not so engaging that I was like had to watch the TV the whole time it was on. If that makes sense. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's just background noise.
Yeah, sometimes, and then sometimes you're getting like something like really like awesome, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
What else did I watch? For All Mankind. I've
Okay.
gone through recently. That's an
Nice.
Apple TV show, which is really interesting. I don't know if you guys heard of it before,
I have
but it's
not.
basically like
Okay.
it's an alternate universe TV show where the Russians land on the moon first. And
Oh,
basically,
I think I've heard about this one. I just haven't seen it.
it's really good, actually. That show I actually really enjoyed. It's so it just is very dramatic, and it's interesting to see the way that things like theoretically could have played out. Because basically, with in this scenario where they land first, they're like, "Oh shit, we got to catch up."
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a lot of like trying to one up the Russians instead of like the other way around. So yeah, that was interesting. Do I watch any other TV shows? That one. And I'm in the middle of another one, so I'm not gonna talk about that one right now.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but those are my big things that I've been doing. Outside of that, I've been very excited. I'm just killing time for Pokemon Arceus. 'Cause I don't want to start anything and then just instantly drop it. So there's that. I mean, the Tetris 99 just had an event for Pokemon Arceus. I played through that. It's got good music.
Okay.
It's fun, but it's not a very exciting Tetris board.
Yeah.
Some of them are more exciting than other ones. But yeah. No, I'm just grasping at straws now. So anyone can take over at any point.
I can talk
Okay.
about things
Go for it.
and stuff. I get to talk about Returnal this week.
Oh,
Yeah,
fine.
let's hear it.
That's the game I mostly play. So it was cool because I got to try out a lot of different like features on the PlayStation 5 while I was playing the game. But overall, I really, really, really fucking love this game.
Great game.
I think the initial reviewers who kind of wrote this thing off as being too hard and wanting a difficulty selection kind of lost the idea of the concept of what a roguelike game is, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Because most of the time in roguelikes, now, I've never ever run into, I mean, Brandon, you've played more than me, so maybe you can have a better opinion of this.
Okay.
But of all the roguelikes that I've played, I've never had a run where it was impossible, just more challenging, but like never impossible, right? Like, have you ever had a run like that in a roguelike game?
Yes. I would say specifically Binding of Isaac, because a lot of Binding of Isaac is heavily dependent on RNG.
Okay.
And that's because it was one of the early days roguelikes, like starting out, one of the first big ones that like hit it off with this generation, basically. And as such, that's like the only thing I can really think where it's like, yeah, it would actually be impossible to play some rounds that you get spawned into in that game.
I will say every time that I have died in Returnal and have like lost that run, so to speak, has always been my fault.
In Returnal, it's always going to be your fault.
But like there is literally no like actual way to make this game easier with like a toggle switch of difficulty, because of the two bosses that I've fought so far. A lot of it is like.
Is that the music one? Did you do the music one?
No.
I thought that was the second
first
boss.
No, the second boss isn't a music one. That's the Crimson Wastes.
Okay, all right.
So the first boss was in I forget what the original area is called, but it's like a kind of overgrown like temple kind of area.
Okay.
And then the second biome that I've made it to is the Crimson Waste, which is like this vast red sanded desert, i.e. Crimson Wastes.
Oh, it's the third boss I was thinking of. That one's so cool.
So I've finished the first biome after 4 tries, and I think I'm on my 3rd try currently against the. Now, mind you, I've like died in both of these biomes leading up to the boss, but in terms of beating them, like this is my 3rd try of going against the boss. And like there's no way to make this game any easier because the boss is literally half how well did you prepare yourself, and then how good are you at bullet hell games?
Yep.
Because you're just dipping, diving, dodging, and dipping and dodging and diving everywhere.
Yep.
While also paying attention to your health and making sure that you pick the right gun for these areas. Like there's a large variety of guns, some of which I haven't really used too much. I mostly default to either the Hollow Seeker or the Tachyomatic Carbine. The Tachyomatic is basically like a machine, like a assault rifle type gun.
That's a good
gun. Then the Hollow Seeker is like, I guess more, it's kind of along that same like automatic fire type weapon, but more concentrated, and also has a secondary I don't want to say secondary fire because every weapon actually does have a secondary fire mode. But it has like a second ability, so to speak, that like when you're firing the gun on certain ones that you pick up, you have like a second type of bullet that comes out with it.
Okay.
So like the ones that I normally would pick up have like a wave that comes out as well. So like you have this barrage of bullets plus this additional wave that comes out every once in a while. Because every weapon is the same yet have different abilities and aspects about them. So like this one might have a certain secondary fire and might be different than the last time you picked this gun up, or it might be different from this Hollow Seeker in this room to this Hollow Seeker in this room, which I think is really cool because it has like a lot of depth to guns. So like you might find the same gun a second time, but it's still not the same gun. It has different features and abilities. So that's really cool. I think
would you like to hear one, like this doesn't spoil anything, but this is going to help you if I tell you it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Do not write off the shotgun and the goop gun. They are very, very fucking good.
So I like the shotgun.
Off, and then like eventually I got to a boss or like an area of the map, which I think you're coming up on. In fact, it might be that 3rd biome where those 2 guns are like your saving grace for getting through that entire thing.
Here's the thing. I like using the shotgun, the something maw, the split maw or something like that. It's called, I think. The split maw. Oh yeah, split maw blaster. I like using that in the first biome. It's almost impossible to use in the second biome because a lot of the enemies that you fight are aerial based enemies. So I tend to swing more towards like the Hollow Seeker or the Tachyomatic Carbine just because it's a lot easier to take care of some things.
That's understandable.
And that's gonna kind of transition to another part I want to talk about. But as far as the weapons goes, they're super awesome. They're varied. There's a bunch of different abilities that you get per weapon, and then there's also throughout the game these pickups that improve your weapon proficiency. And the more proficient you are at a weapon, the higher weapon you have access to, the higher like level weapon you have access to, and the better you can use that weapon, and you actually unlock different abilities for that weapon the more proficient that you are. So I really like that aspect of the game too, because it's like the weapon is ever evolving. So you're not just kind of stuck with the same thing until you find something else. It's not just like throwing this away for something that's better. You can find a gun that you like, and the more you use it, the better you get with it, and the better the gun actually grows and gets better with you.
Yep.
So I really like that. I did actually figure out that one of my DualSense controllers are broken though because of this game.
Oh.
So
really?
This game, like many other PS5 games, the handful of PS5 games that there are, has the what the fuck is it called in the triggers? The adaptive triggers.
Oh, yeah, adaptive triggers.
So every gun has 2 different firing modes. It has its main firing mode, which is just gun. Just shooting,
and it's secondary fire, which is push that trigger down further for secondary fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the secondary fire is usually something that I use to kind of either clear a room or clear if there's like a lot of people around me. The laser beam thing that some of these guns have is fucking amazing for that.
Yep.
But I noticed when I was playing the game the first couple times around, the controls kind of felt shitty to me. And then I switched off of my controllers to a different controller because the one was dying. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait, this has adaptive triggers for the secondary fire.
Yeah.
Because the left trigger is both zoom in and secondary fire. So there were times on my original controller where I was going to zoom in and I went too far and hit the secondary fire like all the fucking time. And I was like, this makes this game miles better, and I'm a lot less annoyed. So then I was having a conversation with my friends actually last night about it, and they were like, "Hey, you should try it out on Ratchet and Clank." And I was like,
Ratchet and Clank had different feeling for
didn't
guns?
know that. Oh my goodness!
So I had been playing with that same controller throughout Ratchet and Clank as well.
Oh my goodness!
So I lost like a whole depth of gameplay with that.
Yeah, you did.
And it's a little bit less noticeable in Ratchet and Clank because it doesn't inherently affect how you play the game. Whereas in Returnal, like, you will know if that's not working because most of the time you go to zoom in, you fuck up and you hit that secondary fire and then you waste it. So
yeah,
like,
that's really weird. Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull a little sneaky on GameStop and trade in the broken one for one of the new cool colors that came out. Because I want like the blue or the purple, and I was like, well, I don't need another controller. And now that I know that one's broken,
Godspeed. I'll let them test that now, but I hope you can get away with it.
So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna fucking try. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll just sell it on Marketplace for full price, and some schmuck will buy it. Either way,
there you go.
So yeah, I noticed that my controller was broken, and then when I started using the actual controller, that worked. The controls felt that much more solid, especially with the guns. Because again, now I was getting this with the other controller that every gun had a different vibration feel to it, and the way the certain guns fire, you could definitely feel the difference from one to another. And what's really cool is, like, again, like I said about how you can have like two hollow seekers that are at the same level but have different abilities. Some of them have different rates of fire. Some of them have to kind of wind up a little bit, and all of that gets reflected in the vibrations and the haptics. So it's like really fucking good. Like, this is the first time I've played it. I mean, obviously I was playing Ratchet and Clank with a broken controller, but even with that,
yeah,
I would be able to confidently say, without having experienced that myself with Returnal, Returnal's haptics is the best I've used on PS5 thus far.
Absolutely. It's the same for me.
It's
I can't
super
think of a
in-depth
single game better than it.
and intuitive, and it really kind of puts you. It has that little bit much more of immersion that I like is really fucking good. Alongside of that, since now I don't know if have either of you guys tried the 3D audio on PlayStation yet?
Yes.
Or you,
I
Brandon,
only
not
use
Mike?
3D audio.
Okay.
On PlayStation.
So there was an update that came out a while ago that you could use any headset basically with 3D audio.
Okay.
So I plugged my.
How long ago was that update? Because when I bought my Arctis 7s,
yeah,
I could already use any headset.
I want to say like a couple of months after the PlayStation, maybe like 6 months after the PS5 release.
Okay, that makes sense.
After they tried to get that initial run of headsets out, basically. So I plugged in. I have a set of Audio Technicas that I use for recording podcasts with you guys and for other things. So I plugged those in, and I couldn't believe how nice it sounds. Now, this is more of like a 3D audio review than it is of Returnal. But like, it's in terms of like surround sound to this, this was really cool and definitely felt somewhat like it had subtle differences from like what a surround sound would give you, but those differences were big enough that you're like, this is definitely something like a whole different concept than surround sound, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So like
there's actually key like sound notes that you can tell when playing with the
and I actually putting the headset on last night, it changed the gameplay for me more with Returnal because I heard a lot more ambient sounds in the background. I heard like living, like when you're in that original area of that overgrown biome, you hear like animals. I don't know if you would say animal sounds, but like living things being in there, and just like the droplets of water coming down and like rocks tumbling down randomly. And you're like, this is really fucking cool. So would definitely recommend playing it with 3D audio because it, again, between that and the haptics, it has a level of immersion that I haven't really felt before. Well, no, I will strike that. I have felt something similar, but not as good. The last time I felt anything as close to this was when I first started playing VR.
Okay, fair.
But not on, like, I can't wait for like the PSVR 2 because I know all of this shit is in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's going to be that much better with that. So it kind of makes me want to get a PSVR 2 more than I did before. So like that shit's really cool. But then just going back real quick to like the environments that I've been into really quick.
Mm-hmm.
The original biome feels like your typical roguelike in the sense of it's like really tight kind of, I don't want to say corridors because like the levels are open,
Mm-hmm.
but very much so have a tight barrier around them and kind of guide you where you have like a natural progression of movement. And then the second biome in the Crimson Waste is just a completely open desert.
Oh yeah.
And is kind of like different in terms of how like I would normally play like one of these games because I drew a lot of comparisons for like when I played Hades last year.
Mm-hmm.
Or the year before, because even though that's not the same, it's not like, this is like a third person versus that a top down like isometric game.
Yeah.
That like between that, Dead Cells, and like Enter the Gungeon, a lot of those games have like your like room to room to room kind of like progression,
Mm-hmm.
where Returnal has that same kind of basic concept, but opens it up in a way that makes it like different and gives you more of a chance to explore. Because like some of the rooms, even on the first biome, had layers of things that you could kind of find, like secret rooms and unlockables and whatnot.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it has that same core concept, but then changes it in a way to create like a more in-depth level,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say. So like
there's
after
a lot
playing,
of verticality also in
yes,
Returnal, where like
yeah,
you can definitely have better shots, get better like vantage points.
yes, which is
Especially
great.
in the desert stage.
Yes,
Which is just crazy.
and what's really cool about that too is the actual movement in this game
Mm-hmm.
feeds into that as well, and more so in the Crimson Wastes biome than it does the original biome. But even in the original biome too, you have a lot of avenues that you can kind of go, and you have your dash, so you can like move back and forth really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there's a lot of verticality too. So if you find yourself in a spot where like you're kind of getting back into a corner, you just dash out really quick, go somewhere higher, and
Mm-hmm.
just try to get a different vantage point. So from the two biomes that I've played so far, the level design and the environments are just like phenomenal, and they do a really good job of nailing like the feel of the game, which is like a little bit of like horror mixed with I don't want to say confusion.
It has a lot of Metroidvania elements to it.
It does have a lot of Metroidvania elements, but like you definitely kind of feel like if you try to like place yourself in the situation of the character, like there's a lot of just like unknowns and
yeah, it's like intentionally vague. So
yeah,
like
there's
you
a lot
don't
of
really know
vagueness.
what you're getting into, but you want to explore. You want to see what the world has to offer you.
And what's wild is even though I've played both biomes over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
each time I go through, I'm still finding new things that I haven't found before.
It'll be that way for like quite a while. I was on like my 8th or 10th run, and I would still find new things. I'd be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Which is great too, because I think one of the major things that Returnal does a good job with is not making it feel like such a slog of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously playing through these things over and over and over again can kind of get to you, because like then you're like, oh, this is getting fucking boring.
Mm-hmm.
But they do enough to kind of keep you engaged and keep things changed enough. Because I think it wasn't until like my 3rd or 4th run on the original biome that I even got into the house.
Oh, okay. You didn't even get the key. Wow. Okay. Neat.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. Like, the house, which I got shown off a lot in the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't even get into that after the first few times, and then I finally found the key, and then I got into the house, and like I think I've had 2 house sequences so far.
House
But,
sequences are super interesting.
Yeah, they're really cool. So yeah, just in terms of that, it's really nice. Now, what I wanted to ask you, because This happens with the first biome and more so in the second biome.
Okay.
When you originally played the non-patched version of the game, if you beat the first boss, right, and then you died, did you have to beat the first boss again to progress?
So, if I recall correctly, no.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
also, on top of that, there were certain elements where, like, you've beaten the second biome, right?
I'm at the boss of the second biome.
Okay, that's the desert one. Okay.
Yes.
There were certain elements where I think, and don't quote me on this, that if you beat the second biome, there's like a little teleporter like thing.
Yes.
Basically.
So that was my part 2 to this.
Yes.
The second biome, if you get to the boss fight, there's a teleporter at the base of the mountain that you can then teleport yourself up right to the boss fight.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a pleasant surprise, honestly.
Yep.
So like that's the thing is I actually tried it yesterday where like I spawned like I lost the fight.
Those teleporters, they were in the game since day one.
Okay,
so
cool.
So that's one of the things I was talking about where like people would complain about the game takes too long and it's just not, I need to be able to save or I need some way where it doesn't have such a long run, and those teleporters literally do that for you. It cuts down from like a 40 to 60 minute run to like 20 minutes just to get back to where you were. Essentially,
there's a lot of shit there that you can unpack. Because one, I tested this last night just to see if I could do it. Mm-hmm. Out the rip, I just ran straight through. I didn't collect anything in the original biome and just ran straight through to the second biome.
I'm gonna fight you with a pistol.
And I did, and I got to the boss. Now, mind you, I was about to die, so like there's no way I was gonna complete the run anyway.
Yeah,
but like you could, if you're a bad enough bitch,
you can complete with just the pistol. It's entirely possible.
You got to be really good. I'm not good enough to do that.
I completed the third biome with only a pistol.
Now, it's those things though that I think really help it not feel like such a slog, because now I can go back to the first biome now and take as much time as I want.
Yep,
and upgrade as much as I want.
And you want to explore.
Yes.
That's the thing.
There's things I still can't access in the first biome. Because like there's those, I don't know if they're teleporters or what, but like those little glowing like light things that are coming off of platforms that I guess you can like transport on or teleport on.
Yes, those. Yes, okay.
Yeah. Haven't able to do anything.
Since like that's where the Metroidvania elements of things come in. So
I found a random like data cube that I don't know where that goes. So like there's things that keep you engaged. So like it's funny how like now in retrospect, after hearing all those people complain about the difficulty and stuff and actually playing the game itself,
you just sit here and you're like, no.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Because again, too, when you're like, oh, I don't want as long of a run, you don't have to, but it's gonna be harder.
Not only that, but like those same people are like the ones that are like, oh, look at it's the 37th it's the 37th battle royale this week. I guess I'll sit down and play 2 runs of that. It's like, bro, you just put in 2 hours for this one experience.
Yes.
And like you're complaining about spending like 20 to 40 minutes on a run? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, it's honestly it's super goofy because actually I would say like the time I spend on a single run in Returnal is probably around the same time I spend on maybe 1 or 2 matches of Apex, depending.
Yeah, it's about the same time you'd spend on a match of Apex. It's about the same amount of time you'd spend on one of like Call of Duty. It's about if you like have a really good run in Returnal, it's like a League of Legends match. It's like all the things that people are A-okay not complaining about.
Yeah,
playing. They take the same amount of time as sitting down and playing this game.
Yeah, like they're spending the same amount of time, but doing
but they're complaining about this one because it's too hard and they can't beat it.
but it's funny because like they'll sit down and they'll play like Fortnite or Apex or something, and like at the base of it, both of those things are the same exact thing. What do you do every time you go into Fortnite or Apex or any other battle royale? You start from nothing and you build up. It's the same fucking thing. It's just Returnal is a lot more fun. But no, like shit like that. And what really bothered me too is that like they added a suspend run feature, which is great because I know you said they added some things afterwards that made the game a little bit easier. This, I feel like, is like a moot thing because I can do the same thing by just putting my PlayStation into rest mode.
So people were already using rest mode when the game initially released.
Yes.
So like that thing there, essentially people were just like, why did this even get added in the first place? Why does this need to be added when people can already do it this way? Go on.
I can tell you exactly why.
Please do.
Now it's a very slim chance of these things happening, but if I leave my PlayStation on, right, and I suspend my run by suspending the PlayStation 5 and I lose power, the run's gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Or if maybe look at this from a different angle. So, like, I'm a 28-year-old man who pays his own bills. So this is not my fault. This is not my problem. But, like, imagine maybe you're, like, I don't know, still living in your parents' house. And they're like, hey, I know that PlayStation's still on because the little light's on. And they want you to turn it off. And you can, but Mom, no, you can't explain. They tell you to turn it off. So I'm just saying it's, to me, a way to ensure that you don't lose your run just in case something goes hairy.
Okay.
Which I can respect that.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know?
But, like, I guess, okay. So I'm going to tell you this one thing. The hardest game that I've played this generation is not Dark Souls. It's Returnal, and it's the final biome of Returnal.
Okay.
It will kick your ass.
I bet.
And it will not give a shit about you. It is incredibly hard, and it's a lot of fun. I feel that due to the story elements, as well as a few other things, adding the feature of the suspend a run negates some of those story elements and kind of waters it down.
I'll have to see when I get there.
That's my one take on it. Because of, it's kind of a lot like if you know about Hellblade's secret, that it kind of ruins the story of Hellblade. So, yeah. If you have that buffer there, it feels like the stakes aren't there, really. See, because essentially Hellblade's secret is they tell you that you're going to lose all of your data and everything if you get overrun by the corruption, basically. That's what the game tells you. But the thing is, instead, it's actually lying to you, and it's just telling you that instead as a form of anxiety and that sort of deal. And having that buffer, knowing that actually won't work, it doesn't work with the like anxious situations that Hellblade puts you in, and having the buffer of just being like, I can just suspend my run and come back, whatever, doesn't kind of mitigate some of the feelings you have towards the later parts of Returnal. In my opinion, it feels like that would be a thing that would happen.
That to me is more so you didn't plan your own gaming time accordingly, because again, I can do the same thing by just whether or not they put this feature into Returnal, I can do the same thing by pressing the start menu and turning my TV off, suspending the console. So my thing is like it's not changing the game at all, really, because I could still do the same thing. It just offers a way to do it that I can safely turn my console off.
You can still do the same thing. You're right. You can still do that. But what I'm saying is even doing it that way, which was not the intended way in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Even doing it that way still mitigates some of the elements and like the stuff you're supposed to feel while going through the second half of Returnal.
But again,
that's an opinion I hold more so than anything. Like I never put my game into sleep mode. I always finished a run because I had the ability to do so. But like I feel like not having the ability to do so and just being like, I'm in sleep mode on the third biome of the second half of the game is just kind of like, that kind of sucks. That's like shitty. Yeah,
you're right.
And like and doing it through sleep mode is one thing, but actually having it as a outright feature that was added in, it kind of feels like it mitigates some of the feeling that I would have personally when I was originally going through Returnal, like I said, if I had played it that way.
I more so see that as a failure on the player's part to time their game time, because like, you know, when I come home from work, I don't really have a lot of time to play video games, right? So like if I only have like 2 or 3 hours, I'm gonna use that suspend run feature because I got I gotta stop, go to bed so I can go to work, come back,
I
and then play
totally
it again
understand
later.
that. I just mean people that like would use it as like a crutch to be like, "Oh, those last 2 levels, they were too difficult. I need to take a step back and walk away from this for a bit." And it's like, all right, I get it, but at the same time, like that's not the way it's intended, and it's very clear in the game itself that that's not the way it was intended. And I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice to suspend the second half of Returnal or in any way, shape, or form, and not go through it the way it was originally intended.
That's fair, honestly. But like I said, I think
had the same conversation with my friend who he was doing the suspend feature via, putting the game on sleep mode and that sort of thing. I was like, doesn't that ruin it for you? Like the whole second half? Like, I had that conversation with him. He's like, nah, I got shit to do. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's totally fine. I get that. I totally get that. But I feel like it kind of diminishes some of the results that you get from just the overall.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from because again, it's like I can watch Endgame at my house right now and like pause the movie before they snap.
Yeah, exactly.
And like go take a shit and then like come back in like maybe 45 minutes after I've noshed on something, and like all the tension, like the moment's gone. So I get that.
Yeah, the moment's gone. Yeah, exactly.
But it is what it is.
And that's not me like being like, you have to do it this way or anything like that. That's just me personally sharing my experience on how I feel it would be.
That's very fair.
I mean, I'm empathetic with you, Nick, because I understand. Like, you can't always just like have all this time.
No,
to do everything.
I understand
you can't
too
just
what he's
fall
saying.
into a slipstream into the fourth dimension and hover in somewhere between existence and non-existence and complete 30 hours worth of games in about 5 minutes. That's fine. That's completely fine.
Listen, all right? All right, listen here. I'm going to get isekai this week, so, it'll be fine.
Oh my God.
There's the first major VR MMO releases this week, so I'm about to get fucking Sword Art Online with my bros.
But yeah, no. So overall, really love Returnal. Really love what they've done. Returnal, kind of elevator pitch is I feel like this game is a what's the word I want to use? I want to say this game is more genre defining than it is bending, because I think going forward in the with the creation of more roguelike games, I think a lot of developers should look to Returnal and the ideas that they've done with it.
Absolutely. And
use more from that, because I will say from the roguelike games that I've played as of late, a lot of them, I don't want to say feel cookie cutter, because they don't, because I can solidly tell you the difference between Dead Cells versus
Enter the Gungeon, Dead Cells, and Hades. All
I
three
can tell you the difference.
They're all very different.
At the same time, for me, it's like being able to tell the difference between McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King.
Yeah.
They're all doing something different, but at the end of the day, it's a fast food burger. Whereas for me, Returnal doesn't even I couldn't. If somebody told me hey, Nick, I like playing these roguelike games, should I play Returnal? And I'm like, listen, you got to throw what kind of out the door.
Yep.
And come to this fresh-faced and fresh mind. Because this kind of stands on its own in the genre, but also...
And I tried to explain that when I initially played it. Yeah. I said, you gotta throw all your preconceived notions about how a roguelike works out the window, because it just won't work. It has the base features of a roguelike, leveling up your weapons, that sort of thing, doing this, that, and the other, but this game... It's you want to play me like Hades? Get fucked.
You can't. Yeah, so like I said, it has the workings, it has the framework of a roguelike, but it does more to buck the trend of what a roguelike is and is better for it. So
absolutely.
The only crime is that not many people can play it because of the lack of availability of PlayStation 5s.
The big title that I would be so happy if it released on PC.
Yeah.
If this released on PC, it would be phenomenal. I would be very happy that more people got to experience this in any way they could experience it.
100% should be on PC. So,
and it's one of the, it's not a lower quality title, but let's be honest, the studio that worked on this, they're a newish studio. They only made indie games before, They're
a newish studio, but honestly, you look at their catalog, at least in recent years.
Oh, their catalog's so fucking good. Every single one of them. Single one.
They had Super Stardust HD on
They had
PlayStation.
Resogun.
Resogun on PS4. Like, I played the shit out of Resogun when PS4 first came out. So, like, they know what the fuck they're doing in this space, and it's crazy that they kind of took what they knew from those two bullet hell-ish style games.
Yeah.
And made something.
They kind of translated it over into a roguelike that's
it's
like
wild.
very high quality.
I can see the DNA of those games while playing Returnal, and it's just crazy. So, if you have a PS5,
if you ever get a chance, you should play Nex Machina. It was one of their games that they made before making Returnal, and it didn't sell well because, like, well, a lot of their games didn't sell well. Let's be completely honest. But Nex Machina is like really fucking good.
Yeah. But if you couldn't get any idea from our Game of the Year talk last week, how I already have this, like, I had this game on my best of 2021 without even beating it, like, I think if you have a PS5, you have no excuse to not play this game.
It's absolutely.
Very, very good. So
this was the first $70 game I bought on PlayStation 5. Totally, and to this day, it is still the only one I think was worth the $70 price tag.
100%. 110%. So that is the only game that I have played this week. So, but I feel like I gave a lot of information. So.
Oh yeah, you definitely did, and I'm glad like we share some of the same feelings about this.
Yeah,
because this game's really hard to put into words, but I think you're doing a very good job of doing it. So.
Hell yeah! So, but yeah, that's all. I don't know if I watched anything. I was watching the first couple episodes of Peacemaker when we were recording Game of the Year.
Yeah, it looks so fucking funny,
it's
and
very good.
Really liked the Suicide Squad reboot movie. It was very good.
If you like that, you'll love this. So I watched some of the first episodes of Peacemaker. Very good. I thought I watched a movie too. Oh, I did. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. It's the sequel to The Hitman's Bodyguard with Ryan Reynolds and
all right.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Like 2 weeks ago. That's really good.
Yeah, no, it was good. If you like the first one, it's more of that. It's very funny.
Yeah, so. The first one's great too.
Yeah, first, like, surprisingly, like I walked out of that and I was like, it was pretty good. Yeah. You know how, like, when you walk out of a movie and you look at your friend, you're like, that was good, and you're like, yeah, that was pretty good. And that was one of those movies. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Where you like share the same opinion, and then you're just like, all right, well, what are we doing now?
We'll go get fucking drunk. Like, all right, cool. So, but yeah, so I will be passing the ball to somebody else to talk now.
I guess it's me because I think I'm the only other one that's played anything.
I believe so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Deep Rock Galactic. Let's talk about this for a second. This is the PlayStation Plus game of the month. Nick, if you've not picked this game up, you should.
I plan to do all that today because also Persona 5 Strikers, I believe, is still out there.
Yes. Deep Rock Galactic is a game I played when it first released. I actually bought this in early access to support it. I was very excited for it. And it was very, very flawed when I first played this game. Flawed to the point where, like, I didn't touch it again after my initial playthrough of it until it came to PS5, and my buddy was like, yeah, you got to play this. So I actually did a stream of this one this past week. This game is incredible. It is so very good. Let me break down Deep Rock Galactic for you guys. So you play as dwarves and you get to choose your class. There's classes like Scout, there's a Gunner, there's oh god, what's the other one? A Driller. And you have to like cooperate with each other. And it's kind of got your Left 4 Dead element somewhat, but it's much more cooperative because each one of you has an ability that the other person does not, and you have to use those abilities in tandem with each other in order to like pass missions and continue on with the game. So, for instance, say your mission is to harvest so much of this specific material and bring it back to the main base. So everyone has a pickaxe and they can use their pickaxe to like dig into walls, and pretty much everything in this game is breakable. So you can do some totally crazy shit, just by like digging through walls and that sort of deal. And, So you can use your little rinky-dink pickaxe and like dig up a hole through the wall and come out the other side and try to like harvest the thing that way. Or you can take Mr. Driller Man, who takes his giant drills that he has for fist, where he can like straight up just burrow through the wall and make you tunnels so that you can go up there and harvest it that sort of way. And you work together that way. The scout has like a grappling shot, and he's the only one that has that. The gunner has a zip line, a very slow zip line used for moving things like back and forth and that sort of deal. But he also has like a giant fuck off heavy machine gun or like heavy minigun, that sort of thing. This game's very, very, very well made. They have done so much to improve this game in such a small amount of time. It's probably been about a year now, but a year for an early access game, that's like an eternity. So if you only take a year to improve your game this much and actually get it released on consoles and everything, that's incredible. So let me double check this. Deep Rock, there we go, because I own it on PC. Yeah, it says it released May 13th, 2020. That's what it says. So that released then. And it's already just an all-around great game. It's definitely worth your time to check out. To really reveal more about this game would kind of be spoiling the exploration element of it, because a lot of this game is about exploring these vast unknown worlds in an underground cavern and cooperating with like your friends and whatnot to try to solve missions. And it's a little bit like a puzzle game. It's a little bit like a survival game, and it's a little bit like a first person shooter like game like Left 4 Dead, that sort of deal. I will share some of my favorite things because we talked about the like trigger feedback for Returnal. You were talking about that, Nick. What would you call it? Active.
Oh fuck. Not haptic feedback. Adaptive triggers.
Adaptive triggers, yes. So that actually gets used, and the only class I play in this game is Gunner. But I actually think the adaptive trigger in this game is really cool as well. So, like I said, you have a minigun as a gunner, and when your guns overheat, your triggers actually like snap up, and like you cannot pull that trigger back down until you've solved the overheating problem. It's actually like very violent the way it's done in this game, and it's really cool because I haven't felt anything like that viscerally violent with the adaptive triggers since I've played a game on PS5. So I think that's really cool the way to do it. So like instead of just having like a normal overheating where it's like, gotta load the barrel again, gotta let it cool down, that sort of thing. When you're like firing repeatedly with the right trigger, you can feel it as it starts to like get like tighter and harder to push, and like you clearly are not supposed to push it anymore, and like you get the idea, and then when it finally overheats fully, it's like snap all the way up and you cannot push that trigger down. And it's just really cool how they did that. They did some really cool stuff with adaptive triggers in this game. So I would recommend picking this up because it's part of PS Plus, and definitely giving it a try. It's a lot of fun. And
right. I'm gonna download. I have to get up on all of the monthly free games before the month actually ends.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's really all I got to say. I'm good.
All right, you guys ready to talk about news?
Neat. There's nothing really big to talk about. Nothing big at all.
No.
Well, I mean, we already talked about one of them.
Yeah, we did.
We did talk about one.
But Activision, Microsoft had a week to let it like settle in now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. There's not been too much news out of it right yet because it's still new and fresh. But a couple interesting developments. Yeah. What is it? Raven, their testers are trying to unionize.
Hell yeah, they are.
And it sounds like Activision's like, yeah, we're not going to recognize this. And it'll be interesting, too, because from what it sounds like, Microsoft doesn't really have a role for them anyways in their like normal pipeline. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with that. And today, so I pulled out this quote because I guess Phil Spencer commented on Call of Duty on PlayStation, and he put out this tweet, I guess it was a couple days ago. So I had good calls this week with leaders of Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony's an important part of the industry, and we value their relationship. But I have to say, I don't know how honestly I think this is going to be. The honor existing agreements, yes, obviously. They're going to put out probably, I would think the next 3 Call of Duties would be on PlayStation.
I think that was actually mentioned today. That officially, at least the next 3 Call of Duties will be honored to be on PlayStation.
Yeah, which makes sense because they probably have contracts. I mean, Sony's always been a big investor in, locking up exclusive deals for Call of Duty. So, I mean, it makes sense that all those would be in place. But after that, it's like, even the wording of this is like, what is it? Our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. If you remember, they use like the same kind of cryptic wording with Bethesda too. So, be interesting to see what they end up doing with this if they are going to. But it's so far out, and by the time that they're done with the Call of Duty on PlayStation 5, it'll already be time for PlayStation 6. So
yeah, probably.
And then at that point, I think all bets are off. I don't think they're going to be like, oh yeah, of course we're going to put it on your new thing. So, I don't know. Those are the interesting parts of Activision Blizzard. I don't know if there's anything else you guys had seen.
Yeah, I saw one other thing.
Okay.
A new IP was actually announced from Blizzard.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did see that, but I haven't looked into it.
And the only interesting thing about there was like one piece of art that was shown off, but it was more so the wording that was interesting, is that they said that's coming to PC and console. Not
Isn't it
PC
a survival game?
Yes.
That's like Blizzard's first survival game, so that's interesting as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were like, oh, it's coming to PC and console. Now, again, that could just be cryptic shit.
Yeah.
Because console could just literally just be Xbox because it's a console.
Well, did it say console? Or that's what I was just going to say. Yeah. Just say console or consoles.
So, I mean, whatever it might be. But it's interesting that they introduced a new IP like that. I don't know. This is weird. So that's a thing that is coming. There's literally no information about it. Just a picture.
I have a theory about the reason why they're like introduced a new IP.
So their stock could go up.
No, that's the Xbox exclusive game.
Probably.
Like that feels like something they would do. They wait until the acquisition. They're like, here's a new IP, and then they're like, now that you've seen the new IP, that's an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah. When they're going to show that off, I mean, like I said, nobody knows. There's no name, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
That we know of.
Wait, no, there was an image today, wasn't there?
No, it was an unannounced survival game. That's all it says.
Hold on.
Although, according to...
I'm pretty sure I saw their Twitter.
Let's see.
What was your question, Brandon?
If there's a name for it?
Oh, no, there's no name for it.
No, there's no name.
But I will say, while Brandon's looking...
Yeah.
According to Brandon's man crush, Jason Schreier, this is the real deal. Apparently, people are very excited about this.
I mean, I hope to be excited about
it. So we have this. I can't copy this image, but I can link it to you guys because there is a single image, but it tells us nothing.
No, it's just like a sunset. Like
and he said too.
No.
For what it's worth, even some of the most disgruntled Blizzard employees rave about this new game and team making it.
Okay, so here you go. This is some of the possibly art for it, as well as
possibly art.
A character.
Okay.
Possibly.
It's a bike?
Yeah, I don't know. This is what I saw when I looked it up.
Oh, yeah.
And this was announced today, so... And it's from Blizzard's official website, so... Yep. And I've never seen these images before, so I feel like this has got to be for whatever the new game is.
I mean, it's all... they're saying it's a completely new game, so there's it's not in any universe. It's not. There's gonna be no shared characters.
I mean, I've never seen any of these images before, and this is that's clearly fucking New York City, and then down below it we have some kind of floating sky world that they biked to or some shit. It's weird. It's very weird. But this is clearly something that I've never seen for Blizzard, and they're showing it off and also asking for new career people. So
so it's interesting. I am interested to see what happens in the coming years, but I mean, I have full expectations that after any sort of contracts have been met, everything that Activision Blizzard currently makes, will never be on PlayStation consoles ever again.
Yeah.
Call of Duty included.
Yeah, I believe that as well. But I also believe that they will be able to get the upper hand and be like, well, no one plays that much on PlayStation anyway. And the reason for that is because it'll be bundled into Game Pass. So they'll be able to be like, here are our Game Pass numbers compared to the people playing on PlayStation. And you have to take into account the tons of people that could play Game Pass on any system, including through streaming. And then you have to also take into account the fact that like there's not expected to be any PS5s readily available until like 2023, 2024. So like using both those excuses is enough for them to be like, yeah, so after these next two, we'll be done with the releasing Call of Duty on PlayStation. And they're not dumb. They already had that kind of idea planned.
I am
just in
interested
general.
though to know if maybe some of the higher ups at Sony not knew that this was going to be a thing, but maybe they have like a contingency plan of like, hey guys, Microsoft is buying a lot of things, right? And then maybe at first it wasn't so on their radar, but I think maybe after them buying Bethesda happened, they were probably like, we need to prepare for the worst. So there's a good chance that maybe they have some studios, because I think what's his name said, they have like 23 unannounced IPs. Like new IPs for PS5 or just like
I think a lot of those are going to be on their VR headset.
I mean,
they're going to probably try to take the VR market because they are showing off one of the more powerful VR headsets. They are showing off like specific games only for that headset and that sort of deal. And I think that's a market that they could corner pretty well because like, I mean, people, it's maybe a niche market, but those people are willing to spend just thousands of dollars. They'll go and buy your PlayStation 5 and your VR headset if it's VR.
Yeah, I was about to say at least part of what you were saying, because it's like, yeah, it's a niche market, but you are right. Like, it's a good chunk of a corner of a niche market, and if that's where Sony wants to go, I mean, that's not a horrible thing. The other thing is too with the thing, supposedly they're sitting on like 2 more timed exclusives from Square Enix, something like that. So
I mean, the 2 more timed exclusives is just part 2 and part 3 of the fucking
Final Fantasy 7
series.
I mean, Final Fantasy will be a big deal, I'm sure.
Yeah, if it ever releases.
Maybe if it comes out. But yeah, no, it's interesting. But who knows? I'm more so excited for the possibility, because I don't really care about Activision as a company that much at all anymore. I mean, the only game that I was really invested in, like I said before, was Overwatch. But that's
I'm a big fan of the zombie series in Call of Duty.
That's fair
it's
too.
It's one of the few things I feel like actually has some effort put into it.
I would like to see Blizzard come back to being what it was, like what I know it can be and what it was before. Because like Blizzard is one of those just respect at one point, honestly, was one of those respected names in the industry. Like like if it said Blizzard on the packaging, like you're like, oh, this is a good game. This is going to be a great game. But now that name is not synonymous with that. That name is synonymous with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So like I would like to see Phil and the boys do their best to kind of bring or harken in a new age of Blizzard rather than like return to what they were, because you don't want them to go back to what they were, because obviously that's a lot of where the bad shit was happening. But maybe bringing it into a new light would be the best.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, probably part of it will be, I'm sure Microsoft will give them, because the one big thing about Microsoft's acquisition with them is it will allow them to break free from the chains of Activision. Like they're not going to be under the direct, like, because for a long time Blizzard seemed to be pretty independent with the Activision when they purchased them initially. But I mean, as we've seen, that leash got shorter and shorter over the years. So I imagine too, Microsoft giving them the latitude to do what they want probably will help a lot more as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And like I said, I'm sure that cleaning up both of those places is going to be a top priority for them.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. Anything else on Activision Blizzard?
Oh,
no, not really.
All right. Well, Pokemon Legends Arceus is leaked this
Mhm.
week. So, did you guys see anything on this?
I have not
I
looked
saw
at
some
it.
of the different forms that leaked out.
Yeah, so there was a couple of things I wanted to kind of touch on. Nothing like spoilery. Just some things that I thought were interesting.
Mhm.
So, because the one thing I remember we talked about when we brought this up as the most anticipated game for this year, I know, Brandy, you were like, well, I heard some rumors that, this might be like a money grab attempt from the Pokemon company.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I
Not
hadn't heard those rumors.
specifically money grab, but more it might have some elements of
like a monetization, like
Yeah.
games as a service
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, not only is that not true,
Okay.
but this actually
Fantastic.
might be the least money grabby Pokemon game that has ever been created.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so because so here's some things that's about this. So you
Okay.
buy Pokemon Arceus. Start out, there's only one version. So you don't have the 2-version bullshit like they do in the past. So that's good. Right off the bat. For people who gotta catch them all, that's half the Pokemon you gotta buy.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, this game requires absolutely 0 trading to catch every single Pokemon.
Nice. That's very good.
0. There is no what is it? So they actually made it so that like the Pokemon who trade by evolutions, like let's say you want to get a Gengar, all right? Well, you know your options. You gotta evolve Haunter. So, but you got options in this game. You could trade to evolve Haunter into Gengar like usual. If you want to, the option's still there. You could. They have like distortion zones in the game where you can go and find like higher level like rare Pokemon.
Okay.
So, and they're like evolutions and stuff. So you can go and get it there. Or there's a new item in the game that you can. I think it's available at one of the stores, but it's called like linking cable. And if you apply it to the Pokemon, it allows them to evolve without trading.
Okay.
I know, it's pretty rad. So, but yeah, everything, and like even like because like the legendary, like the box legendaries, like instead of only being able to locked into like 1 or 2, depending on your choices of the game, they're both available. You catch them all. Like everything is there that you need. And I guess too, at least from what I've seen, like a lot of like I don't know, at least this is how I feel. And I mean, I guess we'll see what happens in like a couple weeks once the game is like out and about. But like the buzz on this game has been like very positive, like much more positive than I feel like Pokemon games have been in the past. Like I've seen quite a few people be like, well, I've been playing Pokemon casually, or I've been really big into Pokemon, and this is something so completely different, and it's probably one of the best Pokemon games I've ever played. So,
wow,
yeah, it's different, and it looks like it's fucking hard. Just like some of like the wild Pokemon will just come out and wreck you.
Neat.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen. Other nice quality of life things that they have in there. So you know how like, it's like, Bulbasaur learned a new move. But you can only have 4. Which move do you want to get rid of? Well, that's still there, but you know what the nice thing is? You can go and access all the moves that Bulbasaur's ever learned.
Oh.
And switch them in and out as you go.
That's nice.
Yeah. So like, you know what? I do actually want this moveset back. Like, yeah, there you go. And it's got like rad things too. It's like, hey, you walk around a map, you fight a Pokemon. Oh, guess what? Another Pokemon just walked over and joined the battle with you. And like against you. And saying like people are be like, yeah, you walk up to a Pokemon and be like, oh, this will be easy battle. I'm gonna wreck it. And then they'll be like, all of a sudden they'll be like 4v1. And you're just kind of like, I'm fucked. And then you can just like, but then that's the thing though, because it's like you could just run away. Like it's not, you are not set to like the always like turn-based move sets of the traditional Pokemon games. I guess the move system, the battle system, it's much faster, it's much more diverse. They got rid of a bunch of useless moves and retooled them. So it's like it's a very different experience. And people seem to say like, I would say maybe probably the more realistic thing to say about this is a perfect game by no means. Like, but this is a very solid foundation for something new for them to go in and build off of, with something that's going to be really enjoyable for a lot of people. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. Like I said, I've not seen anyone who's just bet. I've not seen anyone like genuinely be like, I fucking hate this game. Okay. Everyone's been like, it's either somewhere between it's good to it's great. So, yeah, I really like what I've seen with this so far. I'm trying to think if there's anything else like super interesting. But yeah, there's just it's so much shit to just go and do and see. Because we said, it's not completely open world like Breath of the Wild. Like, it's broken up into areas, more like Monster Hunter. But there's lots of different interesting things to see and do in each places. Other little nice things too, like progression stuff. Like, like everything's tied to badges in the old games. It's like, oh, you want to get Ultra Balls? Well, you got to get, whatever, 6 badges or whatever, then the stores will start selling them. It's not like that anymore. Like, it's tied to like your progress, and you do quests, and the quests are what build up the stores into new things. Like, it's much more involved. Like, there's crafting to get different items. You send Pokemon out to go and get different things. The Pokemon come in different sizes now. So it's like,
I've seen that. I've seen some of the like massive ones.
Yeah, like the alpha Pokemon, which are like, I don't know. I saw a video of like someone fighting like an alpha Rapidash, and that thing like death stares you with fire eyes. It's fucking creepy. Like when it's like kind of like pausing for you to like do your turn, to like it literally turns its head and looks into the camera with like fire eyes.
I'll fucking kill you in your sleep.
Yeah, it's fucking creepy. But yeah, no, but they're like a bigger size than everything else. So you get them and you'll be like, oh, I got this fucking massive ass like Bidoof. I'd be like, yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I've read that Bidoof video is actually like pretty great.
The big Bidoof.
I watched it.
Yeah, I know you did. I don't know if Nick watched it or not.
It's adorable.
It was a good Bidoof.
Yeah, it was. It was like, oh, and they like, it's basically, it was like the whole like HM slave meme.
Yep.
And like, they just did a really good take on it.
But Bidoof really just want high fives.
Yeah.
Give your Bidoof a high five.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, so I just want to just kind of like preempt, since we can't talk about the game this week because we don't have it yet, and I did not. I'm waiting for my game to unlock on my Switch. But yeah, I mean, everything that I've seen so far, like, pretty optimistic. Like, I'm actually like, my hype is increased even more for this game, because it looks like it'll be pretty positive. I mean, we'll see what happens when it comes out, but I've just even like some interesting things like unknowns. Like you remember like the Million Unknowns?
Yeah.
They're kind of like a Easter egg hunt in this game.
Oh, neat.
They're like hidden through the landscape in like all the different shapes, and they're just kind of like static, and you just kind of got to find them and throw a Pokeball at them to catch them. It's fucking like little
really
details
cool.
like that are great. Yeah, that's just I like I said, I've seen so much like just the little nuance in this, just fucking great. Like I'm very happy with what I've seen so far. And I'd be really interested to see, like I said, how the general public takes it, because it is a pretty big departure, but it seems like it's a big quality of life improvement. But it's also one of the biggest things that a lot of people have been complaining about recently is the difficulty. And this game is like, it'll fucking wreck you, just fucking wreck you. Like just like, what was I reading? Someone was saying today, like they'll find a Pokemon in the battle or in like the wild, and it'll be like 10 levels below them. And it'll just fucking destroy them. Just tear through like teams, because it'll use like super effective moves, like stab moves, just like just gone, and you just black out. Or the Pokemon can attack you too, which is also funny, and then knock you out that way. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, fuck the Pokemon. I'm just gonna attack the trainer. Good day, and then you're done. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's great. So Nick, you're getting it right. No, I thought you said you were getting it.
I was gonna watch and see, and just see how it comes out, and if it's good, I'll get it, but not right away.
Okay. Now, I mean, I'll definitely be able to update you guys next week, so because it comes out on Friday. Yeah, exciting times we live in. Anyways, last news bit: Star Wars games coming, 3 new ones.
Yep. Respawn is making the next 3 Star Wars games, or at least 3 Star Wars games for EA and Lucasfilms. Let's see. They are not VR games. I know one is an FPS. I think. Let me see here. There's another one that's kind of like a strategy-based game, and then one other one. Which I don't know what that one is. I just know they're making 3 new games. But one of them, the FPS one, is being made by the same team that developed the VR Medal of Honor game, but it's not VR. They're saying
that's supposedly a really good game.
Respawn
VR
does
Medal of Honor game?
Yeah. Respawn does a really good job with FPS type games. See Apex and Titanfall. So I'm excited to see what they do with this IP. I'm not too huge into Star Wars, but I mean, if they make a good game, I'll play it. So
yeah.
So yeah, if you like Star Wars games, you got 3 more to look forward to from Respawn.
That's good.
Yay.
I actually have a question for you guys. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to talk about this. I don't think we've gone over it, though. You guys saw what happened to the Italian Senate, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
Yeah. The Italian
Senate.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't know.
You don't know?
No. You don't know.
There was Nick, you do it. It's good.
I do know what you're talking about. I remember now. Yes. The Final Fantasy thing, right?
Yeah, the Final Fantasy
thing. Yeah. Okay, yes. No, I do remember. I did see this.
What was your question about it?
I was gonna be like, did we talk about this at all?
No, we didn't.
Talked about this, Brandon.
But I don't know why we would. Why we would have.
Yeah, there we go. There's just a little bit of alluding to it. Also, I'm in general chat right now. I got a meme for you.
I thought you were like, in general chat, here's a video.
Got a meme.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, she was. I don't know how that happens. Well, I guess I do know how that happens.
Call. The guy had it up on his other monitor, and it picked up the wrong thing when his Zoom call came in.
For all the negatives that the pandemic has caused, I still think one of my favorite things to come out of it is the random Zoom things, be them inappropriate or just stupid. The inappropriate ones are great to me because I like to put myself into the headspace of that person and be like, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
What was on your mind when you're like, I'm going to be on this work call, but I'm also going to have like this other thing up that I know I should probably not have up at all.
I mean,
what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Can I share a bit of interesting breaking news?
Yeah, sure.
So this is for my home state of New Jersey. New Jersey approves betting for competitive video games.
Oh, interesting.
So
betting, huh? Okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to have esports betting with Bailey's Atlantic City, and you can take bets on esports.
That's kind of weird.
I mean, they bet on everything else. Why not esports?
Yeah. I mean, so you'll bet. Customers on esports entertainment group platform will be able to bet on other people playing games, including Call of Duty, League of Legends, and others. That's interesting.
I hope we get to bet on Candy Crush.
I mean, I'll fucking bet on video games.
I mean, I already play CS:GO, so yeah. I'm already halfway there, if not all the way there.
So that's interesting. That's the first I've seen that. But yeah, so I figured I'd share that real quick.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. You can check us out on our website, game-crunch.com. If you want to reach out to us, we're on Facebook, Twitter. You can send us an email at gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon?
Yeah?
Final thoughts?
No. I mean, no. I have no thoughts.
Nick?
Video games.
All right. Well, that said, my name is Mike Anastasia. You can find me online at Clash Penguin on Twitter or your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
Game.
Hello.
Hola.
Hola.
Como te llamas?
Come. Sail away.
Come.
I wish I had the fucking meme music to play after that. Hold on.
What the welcome to the cum zone?
No, Cyberpunk 2077. Come. Dun, dun, dun. One of the comments on the video is this kind of meme is the reason why the aliens lock their doors when they pass by Earth.
That seems legit.
Yep.
Wow.
Hmm.
YouTuber turns entire Lord of the Rings movie into a 3-hour metal song.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
What star is this in Brandon's cum video? What did you say?
That could be taken two very wildly different ways.
I mean, it really could if you look hard. If you look hard enough.
Why did you come? Man, you sharing that makes me realize that there's a very empty possibility we could get the PS5 version of that game this year.
Mm-hmm. But will it be good?
I don't know. People swear that after all the updates they've supposedly done.
I mean, I played it after all the updates. It's still the same game.
Wonderful.
It runs better. It doesn't crash. It's like more playable, like in general.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it is still the same game. It's still the same flawed. I think the easiest way to explain the problems with Cyberpunk is there is a man who did modding for the game recently that wrote a 70-page Google document on everything wrong with the game that they found, all the coding issues and everything. And they were just general issues, not bugs, but like when they made this game, they made it incorrectly. Like he revealed that most of the perks in the perk system don't do anything.
Wow.